Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Spiritual Spotlight series. Today, I am joined by Tamara Pflug. She is the sweetest. I can't even talk. I'm so excited she's here today. She is the Swiss fun and confidence coach, and I know she does a lot more. Thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. And I have to say that, yeah, it sounds like you could be a fun also. Like you can add the tagline before fun, Rachel. I think you're in fun.
Fun, Rachel, fun and
It doesn't look
enthusiastic.
like it's Sunday, which was a secret. So,
We're recording this on a Sunday and it won't be up until like February. But hey, it's all good because we're having
doesn't
fun.
matter. It's evergreen, so it's good.
It's so true. So I have some questions because Tamara actually has a lot of interesting things on her website and whatnot. So if I'm like, you're like, where are you going with this? Just bear with me, everyone. So we're gonna welcome you again to the Spiritual Spotlight series, where we delve into the spiritual journeys of incredible individuals. Today, again, we have Tamara, who is a fun and confidence coach all the way from Geneva, Switzerland, and I am recording this in New York. So she's all about accepting herself, accepting, loving yourself, and having an uncomplicated life. So again, we're thrilled that you're here.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
let's just dive right in. So intuition as a gold mine. You've expressed that people often overlook the power of intuition because they think it's too woo-woo, which I would agree with you there. What inspired this unique approach and how has it impacted your spiritual life?
Yes. So I think we should learn at school to listen to our intuition, because often we look for external answers to any question, in our personal or professional life or spiritual life. But I guess that very often we can just tap into our intuition. And for every question we have, like we ask ourselves to listen to intuition. And here I have to say that often people think that it feels good. I think that it doesn't always feel very comfortable. I don't know what you think about it, but listening to our intuition, it's not always comfortable. What
Yes.
do you think?
I think that's a really good point. And, somebody who's been intuitive, and it doesn't matter if you're in the spiritual realm or not,
Hmm.
you probably have experienced this too. We get intuitive hits, and it may be, oh, I shouldn't go here,
Yeah.
or it should be, I shouldn't be with this person. I shouldn't take this job. I shouldn't take this way. Can you maybe talk a little bit about maybe like how you've developed your intuition and
Yeah.
how you've taught other people how to tap into it?
Yeah, I think, because also it sounds very, as we mentioned a bit, it could sound whoop for certain people, but I believe that sometimes we say, I had a feeling about this, or no, I don't think so. Just by saying this word, it can be related to listening to our intuition. I think that honestly, I'm 33 as of today. It changed every year, so I always forget, but I think, yeah, 33 and a half. And I don't know, all of these years when I was young, I never like I knew I have thought, but I was not tapping. I was not really listening to what my gut feeling was. And I
Yeah.
think that slowly, as because I used to be a teacher, and then I was selling on Amazon, which is a funny story because I was selling kitchen gadgets, and I don't like to cook, so this is funny. But after selling
I
this
love you.
business, it's funny, like honestly, and I really like that. I love people. People love to say I love to cook, and I have to say that I love when people cook for me.
Mhm.
But so I think, and then after that, I learned life coaching, and at that moment, it was more even about building my business that you always look for external answers for every question you have. And I realized, Ray, that I think that for to every question that I have, my first answer is my best guess. Like I just decided I'm going to listen to my intuition. Worst case, I try something else. And since I was a confidence coach, okay, I went into this. I said to myself, it's a great way to, trust yourself, like to discover what you think can be true. And worst case,
Yes.
you try something else. But it's built this integrity with yourself, this authority that your answer is as valuable as any other one. We often look on the outside. I believe that it's just like all the benefits are from like listening to our own intuition. So this is where
Yes.
I came on. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a very I love that intuition is a gold mine. It is so, so true. And you don't have to
Yeah.
be spiritual. It's just trusting
Yeah.
your innate experience within and knowing what is good for you and what is not good for you and moving
Yeah.
forward and trusting that when you get those hits to really follow them through, because I'm sure that there have been times where people haven't followed that through and then something,
Yeah.
an outcome that they didn't want happened. And I know that you're in Switzerland and we just celebrated like the 9/11 anniversary here in the
Mm.
States. Like so many people that I know was like, yeah, I didn't go to work that day. I didn't take the subway that day. I had a feeling not to go, and their
Mm,
lives were spared. So I think it's a very sad example, but it's a powerful example for a lot of people that trusted their intuition. And then I know other people that had a feeling, still went to work, and then had a terrible, obviously a very tragic
yeah.
experience. So I'm sorry to put a downer on that because you're the
No,
fun
but
coach,
it's
but
true.
it's a powerful, it's a powerful example.
Yeah,
And
it's
I think just
true.
that right there, even if you can teach people that, wow, what a difference their life can have.
Yeah, I
So true.
think. And you can see I have it as on my background, like I
Yeah,
put
you
on a
do.
like
Trust your intuition. It's so important. Like
no, because
it's
what is the worst case scenario? You know, we always are afraid of a consequence. I think
yeah.
then you just make another decision. Like, and
Yes.
on the way, you would have built that trust that you have the answers inside of you, you know, and it's all
Yeah.
what coaching is about. For me, it's not, we don't give advice or anything. I just ask questions, and I believe people knows what's best always, you know, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, the power of names. You've mentioned naming your brain Sunny as a way to separate yourself from your thoughts and emotions. What inspired this unique approach and how has it impacted your life?
Yes, so Sunny is my brain because
I
I've
love
decided
that.
that I decided that I'm not my brain, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my emotions. You know, sometimes people say, actually, even saying I'm excited, or well, excited is a good, positive, comfortable emotion,
Yeah.
but maybe I'm sad. It looks like we are an embodied version of sadness, which I disagree
Yes.
with this. We just feel sad, but it's kind of maybe semantics here. But so I've decided, I don't know, it makes it just so much first less serious, and then also, yeah, really, if for example the practical example is just
Mhm.
easier, you know, a situation where I feel overwhelmed or like I'm believing
Yeah.
something to be true so strong, you know, like they did not think of me or they're doing it on purpose, you know, when people make remarks, no
Yeah.
matter the situation. And then I said, when I realized that it's just Sunny talking to me, which really create this distance between me and my brain. And then I see all the stuff that I'm having that Sunny is offering me, but I can see that it's not me, you know, it's not
Yeah.
like thinking like they did it on purpose. I just see that it's a thought. And there's no problem, you know, with thoughts until we believe
Yeah.
them to be true. And then we show up in the world thinking them. But I think it's, yeah, it makes it fun, also less heavy, because, you know, we can
Right.
use the spiritual journey and personal development against ourselves, you know, thinking that, you know, like, oh, I know that I'm into this. I should be, you know, I should know better. But actually, we should not, and we should have fun on the way, which is, yeah, the idea of Sunny, to name your brain. So you remind yourself that you are not your brain, you are not
Right.
your thoughts.
That's a really good thing that you've done with your brain and how to kind of almost like make it, like you said, you make this journey a little bit more fun. And I think
Yeah.
we can be really hard on ourselves for, because we're in our mind a lot. Like, like myself, I know as a spiritual being, but I'm also a registered nurse. So I
Yeah.
find myself constantly in my brain and I have to remind myself to go into my heart. Maybe I'm gonna have to name my brain Sunny as well.
Sunny is also just because I find such this name so funny. People really give it to their kids, you know. So
Yeah.
I think, what future can you have when your name is Sunny, you know? So I said, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, also when I'm sharing that the brain, we're not our brain, because I want here to create the distance, because sometimes our brain is making us, you know, feel negative emotion, because I believe our
Yeah.
thoughts create our feelings. So I don't also to blame the brain. This is why I give a
Yeah.
beautiful name, as like
Yes.
beautiful, like a name kind of again fun and kind of a bit uplifting as Sunny, because it's, who would be called like this? But actually, it is a name that people have today.
But
So,
you do bring up a valuable point is that our thoughts do create our reality and our thoughts can
yeah,
get impacted into our tissue, which can manifest in different things, such as
yes,
rashes or pain
of
or
course.
illnesses. And then, like, or a belief system that I'm not enough, I'm not good, I'm not this,
Yes,
like those loops.
exactly.
And I like that
Yeah,
with Sunny, you're shifting that outlook to positive. Like, okay, it's going to be okay. And it's lighter. It feels much more lighter. Not
yeah.
like you said, the spiritual path can feel very heavy at times and it can feel very dark at times. But this is giving it like, no, it's okay. Like, just turn to the sun and be sunny.
It's true. No, and it's exactly what you said. I think it makes the spiritual it as fun as it can be, but it can
Yeah.
make, we can make it heavy, thinking that, oh no, I discovered this, so I need to improve myself. I think we
Right.
never have to fix ourselves, or, you know, we are not
Yeah.
broken or anything. I really believe we do it just from a place of fun, to connect, you know, the intuition part, for example, just to connect deeper on yet to this amazing tool that we have actually is a gut feeling or intuition.
Yeah.
I think for every situation in our life, I think it's just then you feel at home, inside of you. I think it's
I love
amazing.
that. It's so sweet. So let me ask you this. You speak Swiss French, as we know. Language can shape how we perceive the world. Do you think
Mm.
your native language has influenced your spiritual beliefs or practices in any way?
Oh, such a good question. And it's so funny you mentioned it because I grew up in Switzerland, so I speak the Swiss French, which we have to be honest. The accent is a bit different, but it's almost like French. But I'm now 10 years with my partner and he's Israeli. So together we speak English and Hebrew and sometimes French and a bit Spanish in countries we don't want people to understand us. And it's so funny you mentioned this because sometimes I believe that I'm a different person,
Yeah.
when I'm talking in a different language. But to answer your question, I don't think so because I would almost say from my perspective that when I'm really like connecting to my intuition again as
Yeah.
sunny and woo it sounds, I almost there's no language. I think it's more again as a feeling, so I don't even name it. I have to
Yeah.
say, but I still count and dream in French probably. But the rest, I think my intuition, it's really more a feeling that
Yeah.
if I name the emotion or name how I'm describing how it feels, then
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
coming down to like using words. But otherwise, I would say it's more again something that doesn't have a yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a
No, it's
great
like
question.
no, it's a universal, like love is a
Yeah,
universal language. I
exactly.
love that.
Yeah. And I think it's like for example, the connection that we have or like
Yeah.
connection with other people. Sometimes it's hard to put it into words, but it's
Right.
you know what I'm talking about. It's like
No, no,
something
I
that is in the
do.
air. It's amazing, no?
I do. I will just say this, when I received your email, and I think I even emailed you back, like,
Yeah,
I
it's
loved your
true.
energy, just her energy that came
The smile
over.
is too
It
maybe.
was no, but I could feel it because I'm gonna it'll lead into my next question, but like I'm very feeling, and I was like, oh
Yeah,
my goodness, I love
exactly.
your energy. Like it doesn't even
Thank
matter
you.
what what you said, how you said it. I was like, oh, I can't wait to meet this lady. Like
Thank you
and
so much.
it's
It's
so
nice.
true. It was,
But did you?
but
It's like perfume, like
yeah, it's like,
your energy and your attitude,
ooh,
and it is a choice to make. Like I'm saying, I believe also that 50% of the time we have negative, uncomfortable emotions because the
yes.
brain is always, this primitive side of the
Mhm,
brain
mhm.
is looking for the negative
Yes.
85% of the time because it's like looking for danger. It
Yes.
thinks we're gonna die every minute. So I try to accept. So I don't always feel this way, and it's still Sunday, so I had to cheer me up before. No, I'm kidding, but what I want to say is that it's still a choice that you make. So
True.
I don't know, we don't always feel like high level like this,
So
but
true.
the attitude and like the mindset, like what's the alternative? This is why I've decided, but it's a conscious decision you have to make every day. So to answer, I think it's part of me for sure, but
Yeah.
sometimes I still feel like I don't want people to think that it's all roses and this is all the
No,
time. We
it's
also
not.
feel really bad.
But it's also a conscious choice to
Exactly. Yeah.
how you present your energy to other
Yeah, it's
people.
true.
You could be having a bad day, but then maybe that day I'm not choosing to interact with others. So it is a conscious choice how we present
Hmm.
ourselves, and our energy does matter, and how we present ourselves to others does matter. So
Yeah.
the fact that you're a fun and confidence coach, I'm going to be attracted to that energy,
Yeah, it's true.
because maybe I can be, like I said, very serious, and I need to learn how to have more fun. Like it's important. Like I don't think
Yeah.
people realize their energy matters. How they present themselves
For
matters.
sure. Yeah. And
You know?
I think it's really a smell that you leave behind, you
Yes.
understand. And like some people have an interesting smell, which again, what's in our control, I'm taking care of
Yeah.
me and myself. And
Yeah.
then, but I agree with you for sure. This is why we
Yeah.
connected like this, like 100% I agree.
I love it. So you say that you're very empathic and
Yeah.
easily feel the emotions that other people feel. How has this trait impacted your coaching style, and how do you manage to protect your own energy?
Yeah. It's such a good question. Really, really good question. I think that as coaches, I think like for me, when people are sharing, their
Yeah.
emotions, like there is always, the part where um no matter like what's happening in their life, they're sharing how they're feeling, how it's affecting them. And I think this is always very valid. Like I always valid what they're saying and like really telling them like I really get how this must be
Mhm.
painful, how it's hard. So really to validate emotions, which I think we should do ourselves to validate also,
Yes.
feeling angry and everything because we grew up a bit thinking that we need to get fixed, like when you're sad, eat an ice cream. But I think that if we would embrace this negativity, we would already feel better. So there is really this part of I validate every emotion that anyone has and
Mhm.
positive or negative one. And as a coach, then if, of course, they want coaching, never unsolicited coaching, but if they want coaching to feel better about in this situation or to get a different result, as we said, that our thoughts create our results in our life, I don't buy into any stories that they're telling me, so the emotion is valid, but the emotion that comes from what we're thinking, which is what I believe, it's also related to cognitive behavioral therapy, that our
Yes.
thoughts create a reality. So one side, I really, really validate their emotion. I understand how they feel and I feel the pain. And on the other side, to really make my coaching as efficient and useful for them, I don't believe a second into the story they're telling themselves. Otherwise, I'm in the pool with them and I cannot help them. But then I focus and I show them how much it's all creating in their thoughts. So, and every thought is optional. Hope that answered the question. But
Oh,
I
I
have to
like
say
that.
that
Every thought
I
is
feel,
optional. I like
yeah, for
that. You don't
sure.
have to think the thought. I like that.
No, I think also there is a difference between you can think a thought, but you don't have to believe it, because we have 60,000 thoughts per day and a lot of them are unconscious, but it is a choice. Like you mentioned before, I'm not good enough, which is deep down what I always end up coaching people on, and I'm not good enough. There's not a problem to have it. Like right now, for example, I would think it, but I don't really believe it. So I'm fine.
True.
But some other time when you believe you're not good enough, just imagine how you show up during the day thinking you're not good enough. So this is how it impacts our life. I find it amazing. Great question. I love it.
I love that. So, let me ask you this. This is an interesting question I have written down here.
I'm on a
So,
roll.
you have an undeniable love for chocolate.
Yeah, of
Some
course, I'm
say
Swiss.
some say that food can have a spiritual dimension. Do you find a spiritual connection with chocolate, or is it just purely an indulgence for you?
Oh, it's so funny. No, I think I will tell you. I
It's
think
just
it's
an
the
indulgence.
no, I was thinking no, but that I grew up with eating chocolate, a lot of, for example, like milk chocolate, which I love, and I'm okay that people don't like it, but I absolutely am a fan of it. So I think that it's also kind of what made me like soothe me, like as a child. And so it's kind of my connection to the past, which could be questionable if it's serving me to think like this about it today. So I think it's more about like my childhood and being Swiss. I feel like it's part of my identity, which let's remind ourselves that we should not like identify so much with our thoughts, but I believe I'm Swiss, so I have to like chocolate. But it is true that if somebody's telling me I hate chocolate, sometimes I meet people and they tell me I really don't like chocolate, like something's off. I don't know, like I don't understand how can you be so categorical? Like there are so many kinds of chocolate,
Yes. Hello.
Exactly. But I'm not sure that there is something else. I think it's just the taste and the dopamine hit for sure.
Oh, I love chocolate too. I had to bring that up, of course. So let
I
me ask
think.
you this. You have shared that you don't do two things that most people
Ah.
that most people find hard to understand: having kids and going to funerals. Without delving too much into the personal reasons, how do these choices align with your worldview?
Yes. Oh, I love it. And I love that usually people are curious, to ask. So, and they like to tease, if they have kids that are still asleep at 9 a.m. But no, what I want to say here, I want to be an example, to be an inspiration for people to show you can live. I think people are afraid sometimes of living their true life, like what they really want to do, which is like big choices, when you think about it. And I think I just want to be an example of showing that you can make any choice you want. You can live. If nobody, it's always the question, that if nobody would watch, if nobody would say anything, what would you truly do? Again, tap into your intuition. And then you just imagine the worst that can happen is somebody like having an emotion or a thought about your choice. But the problem is that if you don't follow your heart and your intuition, and somebody has a thought, nobody's happy. At least make yourself happy. So to answer your question in a few words, I was going to say two, but probably I'll do more. I would say just to be an inspiration that from these very like not hot topics, funeral, nobody talk about it, but having kids, not having kids, I just want to show that it's not so serious. You can make a choice and it doesn't have, to be black or white. Just being an example of you can just have a special
You don't have
life.
to necessarily like go the society's route. It's okay to make different
Yeah,
choices.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
started, to be even more, I used to be not ashamed, but people really teased for this kind of choice. Or other things, these were just two for like, because I wanted it short. But I think it's, really with the idea of like just taking it easy, not making it so serious, like it's.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Making it fun.
Exactly. No, yeah, exactly.
So
Except no, but
speaking of it being fun, I'm going to ask you two questions. One, if somebody wants to have a fun and confidence coach and book with you, what
yeah.
is the best place for them to go to?
Yeah, such a great question. Another one. So it's to come to my website that is personal development-zone.com. And there you're going to find me and pictures of me and 17 random facts where you took
I love your random. I love her random facts. I'm gonna bring up some. She loves berries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, you name it. She eats them with plain yogurt and with dessert. She loves thrillers, which is interesting because being a fun and confidence coach,
it's
loving
true.
thrillers. I love that.
It's to show that I'm all over the place, you know, like you cannot describe, like I'm all over. I don't know, like you cannot put me in a special box. I think I'm like all
nobody should
anger,
be in
you
a
know.
box. Yeah, nobody should
For
be in a
sure,
box.
but like I think I'm a triangle, a circle, you know, like I'm all the forms you can imagine.
I love that. I love that. I love your random facts. I honestly like put them all down because I was
but thank you so much for printing it and for even having a look at them. You know, it's funny because this is the page that get the most views on my website, and I have other pages that are more useful for clients, but this is the one that they like the most.
I think it's really great. Like I like. Okay, like one of your facts is like you like putting on perfume right after putting on your pajamas.
Yeah.
So she always takes a shower right before she goes to bed, and with that little touch of perfume, she smells like $1 million. And it's
exactly.
I find that to be so interesting because like I take a shower in the morning, I put on my perfume when I go out in the world. But you're putting on I love that. Like that's your bedtime routine.
No, it's great to show you. I think I really want from this conversation also, and of course going back to the intuition, but I want to show that we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be like some things, especially, you know, to feel genuinely good. You know, this is what I think confidence is all about. It's having this genuine emotional peace and freedom. And you don't really care what other people say because I'm like smiling and I get what people are saying, but it doesn't really touch me, you know? So I put perfume for myself.
Well, and I think you bring up a valuable point is that sometimes we box things away to use for somebody else.
Yes.
And what you're saying is like, no, you bought that for you, use it for you and have fun with it.
Well, but here I did not add because again, for short, I wanted it to keep it short, but I have to say that I have 2 perfumes, one for other people during the day that stays on the closest. You know, you always have this perfume that you invested, you buy, and it's not staying. So anyway, there are 2, I have 2 perfumes, but it's what I love to say. You know, I don't make this kind of choice. I think there are choices you don't have to make. Just put perfume in the morning, at lunch, even if you want.
I love that. I love that. I put on like essential oils throughout the day, depending on what I want for my mood. Like maybe I want to be more, maybe I want to feel more empowered. Maybe I want to feel more silly. Maybe I want to feel more sexual. Like, you know, I put on different oils.
That's great. Do you have a podcast episode on this?
No, but you can come back on and we can record it.
Oh, I'm so curious. I would love to do that. Really.
Oh, actually, I do. There's a Tony Craft episode, and we do talk about the spiritual essential oils. So Tony Craft, there is a podcast about it's called I Have an Oil for That.
Okay, but it's exactly the answer to my question, so it's perfect. I'm gonna check it out.
Really I love that. So let me ask you. So you can go to your website, the personal development-zone.com.
Yes.
And then you also have a podcast. So please tell us about your amazing podcast.
Thank you so much. So it's called Get Confident, Get Happy Podcast. And it's so funny because it's a proof of confidence because I started it in January 2019. So each time I'm like, how many years is it? And I've been posting, but what is funny is that it changed so much over the years. So it is an example of confidence that, again, don't wait to start something. Don't wait for tomorrow. I think today is a special day and I started it and you can, if you listen to it, it's so hilarious because in 4 years, so many things have changed, you know, but it's really about like very short episodes of like 10, 15 minutes just with one tool, one idea to feel more confident.
That is perfect. And is it available on all podcasts?
Yes, on all platforms. Thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing this. Yeah, it is. It's available.
I'm like, of course.
I know, but thank you so much. My intuition says thanks to yours, so thank you.
Aw, so I'm like, aw. So one more question before we wrap up this fun episode because you're so much fun. For someone going through a spiritual awakening and trying to harness their intuition, what kind of spiritual advice would you offer?
Great question. I feel like on the grill I should have prepared for this.
Let me tell you.
I think because I have to spiritual practice, I have to still attach it like with my print of fun and confidence.
Yeah, of course.
I would say, even if our thoughts happen in I think thoughts it's more in the head, but I think to connect more, as I mentioned before, we have 60,000 thoughts per day, and most of the time we are unconscious really of them. So I think the first thing to do really is to stop believing everything we think, like really to pay attention And in this moment, to make it again, the process like a little scientist with an experiment, it doesn't have to be, problem to solve this week, to try to get out of your body and look at kind of, the distinction in a specific situation,
Yeah.
of what we're thinking, and at the same time, what is our gut feeling telling us, what is like our intuition at the same moment. So it can be, in a conversation with somebody, like at the end, like, oh, often I coach people on, I should not have said that, I should not have done that. People identify and label themselves with
Oh,
what they said or what they've done. So in this
yes.
moment, it's important, I think, to make the distinction between what we are thinking, what we were thinking in the moment, and what is our gut feeling. Deep down, it's always coming down to the idea, what do I need? What did I need at the moment? So, but make it, again, a bit easy. And I think, all of personal development, spiritual is more of an art than science. Just, you know what I'm talking about? Like, just to make it
Yes.
fun, as much as what does it mean also for you, intuition, like
Yeah.
you, I mean, you, Rachel, and everybody listening, and taking it easy and relaxed and just be open, like, to what you're going to find and listen to your intuition about your intuition.
But
That
you're
makes sense.
100% correct, because you mentioned a couple times that make it
Mm,
fun. One of my mottos
mm,
is healing doesn't have to be hard. It's like it can be
mm,
lighthearted. So
yeah.
yes, we can go through healing and we can go through challenges, but it doesn't have to be so hard. Like and
Yeah,
and
it's true.
and my recommendation would be to reach out to you
Thank
to,
you.
have fun and to, because confidence, especially for women, is something that a lot of us struggle with. And to feel confident in your own skin and to know that, like, I'm my own unique blend, I'm my own person, and to have the tools to be more confident while having fun is a very powerful
Yeah.
dynamic. So
Yeah,
very
thank you so
powerful.
much. And I think, people keep the fun for the weekend, for the night. Like,
No,
I think we can, yeah, you agree? No, I think we can
have fun
find
all
joy
the
and fun
time.
in everything we do, and some days, if it's not going the way we want, not to use it, make it mean that it's over, like it
Yeah.
always passed. But I agree with you. It's not all or nothing. And yeah, it's
And
just a
it's a
joy.
moment, it passes. It's funny.
Yeah.
We had an employee party just recently, actually on Thursday,
Nice.
and it was a lot of fun. We had it a carnival theme and whatnot. But somebody was giving me she was just razzing me, like, and one of the other girls, she's like, it's a feeling, it will pass. Like like get over it. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like,
That's
thank you.
funny.
I'm like, you're right, it
Yeah.
is a feeling and it will pass, and leave me alone.
It's so true. Wow, people are so, I love, when people are so direct. I think, people, all of this, it's all of a very interesting anthropological experience. All of these people just take the
Yes.
best and leave the rest. It's
And you're
hilarious.
like, you're correct. It is, and I
Exactly.
cause that for a second I was sinking into feeling bad, and then I was like, and she's like, it's a feeling, it will pass. Like, you missed your
Yeah.
opportunity, and I'm
It's
sorry. And
true. Actually, she made it so lightly, that
she
sometimes we feel
did.
it heavy, like, I feel so mad. And then we make
No,
it mean, something about us. But maybe it's mad is as bad as, like,
she
like,
lightened it up. She lightened
yeah,
it up, kind of like what you said. She lightened up the mood.
exactly,
So
exactly.
yeah,
Now, it's so funny. Just the last thing I want to say. So people often, when it comes to confidence, also they're afraid deep down to be rejected, to be disappointed,
yes.
and each time from a place again of like being light. And I'm just like, what's wrong with disappointment? Like, you felt it, you're still here. Look, and then they're like, no, I paid you for this, So they are joking about it also. But I think it's an attitude towards life also. Like, there are
Yeah.
no downsides, to see things this way, I guess. So
So true. So true.
I love it.
Well, again, I want to thank you
Thank you.
so much for coming to the Spiritual
Such
Spotlight
a fun
series.
Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you.